Yes, here we are. And if we're here and we're live, which we are last time I checked, that of course means it's Wednesday at noon Eastern time, which is always time for the High Noon Hemp Show. You find us in many places, of course. We're on Facebook at the Temptations Beach Facebook page, also on the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel if you would like a better video quality. And of course, if you're on Twitter or X or whatever it is you call it, at Temptations, check us out there as well. And like and share and comment and do all that great stuff as well to spread the word because we're here spreading the word about hemp over 6 years now. It's incredible. I'm Stoner Jesus. You can search me on your favorite search engine, whether you got the Netscape or the AOL or whatever it is. He is Beach, and he is in an undisclosed location, but he's still loving hemp and talking about hemp. Beach, how are things this week in the world of temptations?
Things are okay, I guess. It's we're still doing all right in the state of Ohio, but I don't know if that's going to last. So we'll get to that in a minute. Remember, folks, and welcome. Remember this: welcome to the High Noon Hemp Show.
Never forget.
Wednesday. It is high noon. Here we are to talk about hemp, and the FDA has not evaluated the show for safety or efficacy. Just so you know.
That's right.
And we'll go ahead and do our pledge. Put your hands on your hemp and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. I should do like a peace sign. Because if you don't know, like this is like the universal sign for hemp. It's like two peace signs crossed on your chest. We all did that in a hemp field. I learned that in one of the first hemp fields in the United States. So stuff's still going on. Obviously they're not in session this week, but they may come back and try to pass something in Ohio. So everybody keep up with getting a hold of the representatives and tell them that you're against a ban on intoxicating hemp. You would be for age requirements or and placement, so behind the counter, both of those two things would be justified, and that's about it. So we'll see if they actually, I think that it's probably going to be stalled. I think they're going to probably debate it all the way to the end of the year, and then they won't vote on it. And hopefully it'll just get kicked out again because, once again, the ban is no way to go. A ban would just get overturned anyway. I'm almost sure of it. And so, they have a better chance of enforcing and regulating age requirements and against placement. We keep all our stuff behind the counter anyway. It's not just out in the store. And most places don't just keep which I think is kind of funny too. I think their concern over age requirements makes sense because there are no age requirements. There's nothing legally binding me to not sell these products to a 14-year-old, which is what someone did in Columbus. We would never do that with this stuff. It just wouldn't happen. We carded for nicotine vapes before there was actually a law that said you had to do that. 15 years ago or whatever, but we know when the nicotine vape thing was starting to hit the scene, and we were one of the first in the city to actually sell nicotine vapes. But we also carded, and there were no actual laws that said we had to do that at the time. And of course now those are, nicotine vapes are regulated under the same laws as cigarettes in most places for age requirements. And so anyway, and it might only be, I'm curious if it's only 18 in Ohio for a nicotine vape, because you have to be 21 to buy cigarettes in Ohio now, which recently changed. So I wonder, I'm sure that they included nicotine vapes in this new law because it just happened not too long ago. So anyway, yes, we're still paying attention to what's going on in Ohio. Again, after the holidays next week, put it on a to-do list. Get in touch with your state representatives, even if you're not from Ohio. I think that these type of things affects all the business, because if I'm ordering product from other companies in other states,
Yeah.
that's going to affect them because they're not going to be able to send me those products anymore because I'm not going to be able to sell them if there's flat out ban. And again, I think that is anti-consumerism as well, because these are 100% legal products and they shouldn't be made illegal because the marijuana industry is pushing for it, which is what a lot of this is. And again, even the moral part of it, it's like, I'll say it 100 more times, I'm sure. Prove to me that it's unsafe, and then let's talk about whether it should be banned or not. If it's truly unhealthy or unsafe for us to be using, then I can understand it. I'm the first person that would stand up to say, you show me the proof that something is harmful and I'll stop, using it for the most part. And of course, nothing in moderation can kill you anyway. What is the moderate amount of cannabis? That is yet to be decided because of our stupid federal laws, to be honest with you. And I think that's one reason why they're almost afraid to change the federal laws, because all of a sudden we start getting all these legitimate medical studies on cannabis. And once again, almost all of them are going to prove that it is not harmful for the human body, and in fact just reinforce the ideology that not the ideology, the fact that we have an endocannabinoid receptor system in our brain for these specific chemicals. Again, so anyway, tomorrow is Hempsgiving. I hope everyone is celebrating with some hemp some way or another. There was no, well, what I think is interesting is there probably was hemp at the first Thanksgiving, but it was more in the form of like clothing and things probably at the time, which is kind of interesting. The pilgrims are always kind of portrayed in these black outfits, which, today begged the question for me, what did they dye all this material with to make it so black?
Yeah.
Back in the day. I mean, was that even, I don't know. I guess I'd like to, and I guess, there's not pictures, but drawings and artwork representing these things. But once again, were they portrayed as wearing black because it was an easier color to do the artwork, or were they really wearing these black outfits that they always show us with the big, like, I've never traditionally looked into that. Most of the clothing at the time, from my understanding, would have been made from hemp, wool. Most likely, wool would have been a big one to the European migration. Native Americans and the indigenous people at the time were still wearing more animal-based clothing, skins and things, where they needed. They weren't making material like the Europeans that were brought here. There were some Native Americans that took to growing hemp. Again, hemp was not indigenous to the United States until the Europeans got here. And the Europeans would not have been using that hemp for food. So they would have not been bringing any hemp foods or relying on them. They probably wouldn't have had to rely on the Native Americans as much for the teaching of how to grow the foods that they needed there as well. Because that would have been a source for them. Hemp seed, as far as food, would have been a good source for them. But they were only using it for the most part for the fiber, for the material. The sails that brought the ships over here, all the riggings, all of that stuff would have been made out of hemp to get them this far. That's why it became essential to the Revolution, to the Navy, for the same reason as, I suppose that hemp can take a little bit of blame, and I hate to look at it like this, but it's true, for the European migration of the world, because all the ships, even all the way going back all the way to the Vikings, were using hemp sails, hemp rigging, hemp rope. The Vikings were known for their hemp clothing, actually. It's not talked about a lot. And I think it's because the Europeans, the modern Europeans, so to speak, modern for the 1700s, might have had some more unique, exotic materials that they were using for clothing, getting away from hemp. But the Vikings were known for their hemp outfits and hemp clothing, is on top of the hemp sails and hemp riggings and all that stuff. So, all I can say is I am still very hempful. Hemp is still, gaining momentum worldwide every day, and we have a long way to go before hemp is that we're growing as much hemp as we should be be making the right products and doing the right thing for the planet. Pure and simple. So, you know what else, Stoner? Do you know what today is?
Is it the day before Thanksgiving?
It's Hemp Day.
It's getting bigger.
Speaking of Hemp Day, let's get right into the product spotlight. As I say, 4 from the store, 1 from my door. So the first one here is the good old THCA, and one of the controversial things. There could be a good chance that if the new farm bill passes with the industrial hemp stuff that's in it now, this will probably go away. And then, of course, if the ban happens in Ohio, then it's definitely going to go away. We've got a couple new strains, as they like to call them in the cannabis world. Cherry, or Tropicana Cherry, and Kush Mints are the new ones. And of course, we've had the Gelato Punch for a while, but this was kind of nice because we got a specific sativa and a specific indica, which people really like. I really like the taste of the Gelato Punch and the hybrid part as myself, but a lot of people really look more for sativas these days, one way or another, for whatever reason. The main reason is because in their head, and I think there's something to this, even though I think once we get it all worked out, maybe not as much as we think, that sativas are more of an uplifting, and normally, that's the history of sativa strands is they are more uplifting, whereas the indica is more as they used to describe it, in the couch. It puts you in the couch. And the hybrid, you just don't know what you're going to get, honestly. Some of them are sativa strong, some of them are indica strong. If they're right in the middle, I think that's probably a healthy balance. Who knows? But, as I've said before, cannabis is the most genetically modified through breeding plant ever in the history of humanity. And now this is just the newest evolution of that is once again breeding the THC out, because this is industrial hemp, so we need that 0.3%, and actually almost breeding now what was increasing the CBD, because in the last 10 years the breeding has gone towards raising the CBD content in the flower. Now we're raising the THCA content, coming up with all these strains. And again, they should have the same terpene breakdowns and all the other parts as this. But again, they just, through the magic of breeding, put the THC where it needs to be, and then boost the THCA. And again, part of that is because THC right now is included in the total THC when you go to the dispensary most of the time, no matter where you are. And so, we've once again, all they've done is taken those strains that are higher in THCA, bred the THC out of them, and boosted the THCA. It's and again, 100% legal. And what's interesting, and I didn't bring this up when I talked about the ban, and I read this online today, and of course, this is what's going to happen. If you ban these products, you can still go online and buy them and have them shipped. I'm pretty sure. I don't know positively how that would work with some companies shipping to a state that's banned it. And I don't know. We'll have to. It'll be interesting to see. Either way, or they'll just go out of state for them if they're still legal in Indiana, or they're still legal in Kentucky, or they're still legal in West Virginia or Pennsylvania. Then everybody's just going to shoot over there if that's what they really want to do. Either way, and it's a price thing too. That's why the marijuana industry hates THCA. So here's the clothes rack in the north side. We will be having, like typical, and I will post this all over the internet, the deals for Green Friday, as I like to call it. But hemp hoodlamp jackets will probably, they could be as up to 42% off. In fact, all clothing may be up to 42% off for the Green Friday sale. We'll also do a small business Saturday sale, but it won't be as good as the Green Friday sale either way. And so if you've been looking for a hoodlamp, it's the perfect time right now. Is like essential. It's so funny because I had a customer come in and get a hoodlamp like literally the day before it snowed. I think she was, it was like she waited as long as she could. She said, "Winter's here, so guess what? I'm gonna get this jacket." And so we have a lot of hoodlamps, and I'm also going to dedicate some time to listing hoodlamps on eBay. Again, we are ERB Son of Ma on eBay. And so we'll be listing a lot of stuff, a lot more stuff for the holidays at really good discounted prices. What can you ask for better than that? It's got to go, folks. It doesn't have to go, but I want it to go to new good homes to keep people warm and all the stuff. Anyway. Also, I saw there's a new commercial. It's like everything edibles. The first thing I look up to the TV, the first thing I think of edibles, but it's just for you can order food on this website. So I thought, everything edibles indeed. How about a little Delta 9, THCA, Delta 8 edibles? These, if you're having a Hempsgiving celebration with people that are hip to the cause, so to speak, then maybe you want to put these out on a little dessert tray for them. Hey, here's a little, little treat for you for the Hempsgiving get together. If I was to host a Hempsgiving dinner or whatever, I think people would almost just assume that I'm going to have cannabis edibles as a part of the menu, and it would be true either way. So there you have it, some good old numb edibles. You got brownies, you got cookies, I think you got some rice treats, Rice Krispie treat kind of thing in there. So, and of course those might help get through the next month of everywhere you go driving. It just seems like people are just like, no one is thinking about where the present. Anyway, it's just a simple observation on my part. I believe in supporting all of the holidays as well. I think there's like 7 holidays starting at Thanksgiving, going all the way to the New Year. And so I, you know, I grew up with Christmas, so Christmas in my life has gotten plenty of credit. I don't need to give Christmas any more credit. It's true, but anyway. And the last one here is the pouches. I really think the gift of glass is a great gift. It's very unique, and so if you're going to give the gift of glass, maybe get a little pouch for the glass pipe or whatever it may be. We have pouches ranging in all sizes, and of course, glass pieces ranging in all sizes as well. But most of the duller color, the green, the orange, I think that blue one, those are all hemp material. Just to keep the record straight. I think there's a couple in there that may not be hemp material, but most of those are hemp material. And then, of course, if you look back in the top right corner there, you'll see that some of them even have hemp leaf designs on them. So, that's a good time. You don't even have to wrap just hand them the pouch with their new glass piece in it and walk away.
There you go.
Don't waste any paper. And if you do, try to make it hemp paper. Now, that's one thing I do not believe exists is any hemp-based wrapping paper.
Wow.
You might be able to buy hemp sheets big enough that you could customize your hemp wrap. We have art paper that's pretty big that you could wrap a decent size present with, and then you could draw whatever you wanted on it, which is a great idea. When I used to get a newspaper years ago, I used to save the cartoons, the comics, and wrap presents in the comics. I always thought that was great. But of course, newspapers don't even exist anymore, I don't think. I guess you could just print out some comics on your printer and then wrap your presents with that. But if that's the case, then you could just really print out anything, any design you wanted on your own paper and wrap it as long as it's small enough.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have it. And then there we have it. There we have it. 4 from the store. The one from my door matches. I talked about how last week when I wore my Beatles hat, officially licensed Beatles hemp hat, I mentioned that I had a Beatles wallet. Well, there it is. That's my Beatles anthology, officially licensed Apple Beatles hemp wallet, which matches my Beatles hemp hat as well. Those are probably definitely two of my more unique aspects of my hemp collection, which I have set the record for the largest amount of personal hemp goods. We're still waiting for the challenges to begin or to be officially recognized, as Stoner Jesus loves to tell you every week before the next segment.
Yeah. Which, of course, brings us to said segment, just like that. It's the synergy of the broadcast. Yes, I'm not holding my breath for any kind of official recognition, but I will say, like I say every week, if anyone out there thinks they have a bigger hemp collection than Beach, step up and prove it. We'll have you on the show. You can go through a tour of all you have. We'll write it all down. We'll do an inventory. We'll get to the bottom of this. We don't need official recognition. Guinness World Records, they don't care. There's people with 5,000 cell phones on their walls. They're worried about those people. They're not worried about hemp. So it's up to us to do this on our own. So if you want to step up to the challenge, let me know. Stoner Jesus 420 on X. I'm not hard to find. Let's go. Now, in the meantime, we continue to build a case, which is probably why it's so intimidating. There's over 6 years now of episodes and beachwear segments where we show just how much hemp stuff you have. So it's probably just too intimidating for anyone to step up, and that's fine. We'll continue to make it more intimidating by doing another beachwear segment this week. And all I have to do is ask Beach, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you're curious, hey, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you will know here on the High Noon Hemp Show. On top there is probably one of my classic favorite hats. That's a head case Do Hemp. And then my jacket is a hemp zip up hoodie. My shirt, officially licensed Converse shirt there. And then underneath that shirt is actually a long sleeve. And I don't remember the long sleeve company. So I called it the question mark. Question mark shirt. One way or another. And then, of course, a good old pair of Kentucky Hemp Outfitter jeans being held up by a Hempy's belt. And then, of course, in the pocket, a Green Springs Technology pen. Underneath it all, a pair of Hemptopia briefs, pair of Canaleaf Satori socks. And those are Rackles. Rackle shoes, Rackle. Check them out. Go online, see if you can get yourself a pair of Rackles. They're really good. Not the greatest winter shoes, I suppose, but they're really good summer shoes. Very light and I like super light actually. And I believe their soles are compostable, possibly. I'll have to look into it, but the whole shoe is eco-friendly, and of course the whole upper is hemp. I believe the shoelaces may even be hemp as well. So there you have it here on the High Noon Hemp Show. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know.
Indeed.
And I do have my list for the most part of hemp products, which I forget. I think it was 175 different things. And even if you were to take just like clothing as one category, it's still, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just let everyone take a look at that one day.
Yeah.
Just kind of scan over it there, and you can see all of the actual hemp products that I have that make up what I believe is the largest collection of hemp on the planet. All right. So as promised, the holidays. Here's I think this was actually the first of the series of Hemp Park holidays Hemptations commercials. So let's check that out, and we'll be back with the news.
It's that time of year for shopping day and night. Temptations for the holidays will make your pipes burn bright. Make a shopping dash, come raid Temptation stash. You're sure to find great hemp gifts while saving lots of cash. So have some cheer, get in here, everybody get along. The holidays happen once a year, it's 420 all year long.
Are you having Temptations? For 20 years. Having Temptations for 20 years.
Those of you who don't like Christmas music before Thanksgiving, that's too bad.
That's right.
Let's take it.
You're just going to have to deal with it no matter what.
It wasn't Mariah Carey. That's something.
All right. So Ukraine has been a large producer of industrial hemp for a long time. And of course, with their conflict, they have all kinds of issues going on. But amongst all the issues going on in Ukraine, with the war and whatnot, there's actually a company who is in the process of building the largest hemp plant in Europe. And again, I definitely think that the growing of industrial hemp is a huge market. I remember, again, like 15 years ago at least, coming across an article, and this was early before it actually became a war. Like obviously, years and years and years before it was actually a war. But Ukraine and Russia have been in conflict for a while, and the United States government came out and said, we need to support Ukraine, we need to support their economy, and one way you can do that is buying hemp seed from them. And so and again, this was every bit of 15 years ago that I came across this article. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. Eventually, and I have a picture of this somewhere. I have to find it. I sat on a bike that was made out of hemp composite that came out of the Ukraine, which I thought that was pretty cool. I did that. That was at NOCO. And so, Russia is a huge grower of industrial hemp still, I believe. I believe it pretty much stays in-house, obviously. But, the Ukraine on top of that also is a large grower of industrial hemp, and we should try to support them. I know that there's like some shoes on eBay that come out of Ukraine. I believe that I don't know if my comforter came out of Ukraine or one of the Eastern Bloc European countries, but it was over in that area that I found my comforter online, and so. We should continue to try to support that as much as we really just support our own domestic growing of industrial hemp, which also needs a boost and needs to keep moving in the right direction. So let's keep doing that. South Africa is thinking about or going to raise the THC levels to 2% in their industrial hemp. It's a brilliant move. Brilliant move. I think this will. They've been having difficulties, I guess, because of the sun keeping the THC levels low. Apparently, the sun is so efficient in South Africa when it comes to industrial hemp that it gives it so much nutrients that it boosts the THC levels above that 0.3%, kind of internationally recognized percentage now that's what our law states as well. And so South Africa is looking to because again, if you're growing for grain or fiber, it doesn't make any difference how much THC is in it. I'm sure that they have a CBD business over there. And again, 2% is super low. You may get, you may still get a little bit of euphoric value out of 2%. That was, from my understanding, 2% was like the lowest grade cannabis you could get on the black market back in the day. That was probably the stuff that we just called lawn clippings because it didn't get you high. And we really thought that the people just went out and grabbed some grass out of their yard to sell us. But that's, that was always our joke for the low grade dog food we'd call lawn clippings. And so, I think maybe in a tincture, you may feel just a hair. I don't think it would be, it's not going to be overwhelming in any way, even if you were a low user when it would come to that. But, once again, when you're growing for fiber or grain, and I think that's what South Africa is trying to boost. I don't think it's really trying to get into the CBD market now. I think it's really trying to boost its grain and fiber hemp growing market. The 2% thing is genius. I think that you won't have to worry about any cultivars coming in from any other countries or whatever coming in over 2%. I mean, honestly, I feel like it would be very difficult to find anything that would come in over 1%. But we've seen up to 1% in domestic hemp here in the United States. And again, some of that's stage testing, and I know that if it pops up like that, then it gets to be retested, and then if it drops down to that 0.3, then it stays. If not, it gets destroyed. But that's why, in the hemp industry, we talk a lot about 1%. I do believe 1% is a good next move. 2% would be glorious, and then we would never have to mess with that again until we can finally say that the percentage of THC in industrial hemp doesn't matter if you're making material out of it or you're going to eat it. As far as the seed, there is no THC. And if there is any THC, we're talking about parts per million, not even like a 0.3% in the seed or the fiber. I think it's 0.00000000003%. Like, again, a parts per million. I don't know if that was the right amount of zeros for parts per million, but anyway. It is not. I don't believe there's a testable amount of THC in the seed or the fiber. I would love to see a study proving that. For one, I would like to see a study that proves that there is a negligible amount of THC in the foods so that the military could get over their food ban on hemp and possibly feed their soldiers hemp, which would be better for them in the long run. Also debunking the idea that you would fail a drug test by eating hemp food, which is where all this started. It all started, again, probably 15 years ago. I believe it was a fireman convinced a jury or a judge somehow that by eating hemp food, they failed their drug test. I don't know how they did it. It wasn't science. I can tell you this. They could not have brought any science into the courtroom to prove this. I think that they probably did a correlation, the fact that cannabis can have up to 25% THC, and so therefore the seed comes from the cannabis plant, so there's got to be THC in there somehow. But they did. They convinced him. The guy won. And that's where all of this started. This is where shortly after that, police stations, fire departments, most notably the military, came out and said, you cannot eat hemp food. Do not use hemp shampoo. Do not use hemp in any form. And then it was after that the whole CBD issue thing became, that was just, they were just kind of re-upping by telling their soldiers they couldn't use CBD by saying, well, you can't use hemp anyway. You're not supposed to be even wearing hemp by the military policies. Which again is ironic because military uniforms used to be made out of hemp. Anyway, and the United States flag up until early in this century, or the last century, I should say, they were either made out of hemp or wool, or a wool hemp cannabis, or a wool hemp blend, even sometimes. But I think I saw somewhere, and it makes sense. I can't be 100% true that if a flag has less than 37 stars, if it feels like linen, then it's hemp. You can tell the difference between wool and hemp, obviously. And so, every flag, including the one that Betsy Ross originally made, was made out of hemp for the first 150 years of our country, of the country. I only take like partial claim. I don't want European claim of the United States. No offense. That's why I celebrate Indigenous Day, not Columbus Day. But anyway, that is just my opinion. The opinions on the High Noon Hemp Show are the opinions solely of me, Beach, not the High Noon Hemp Show. All right. So this I find to be very, very interesting. Apparently the FDA just had a seminar that educated healthcare professionals on marijuana, hemp, and the emerging cannabinoid market. The FDA oversees one CBD approved medicine. They have not approved CBD. They had not approved THC. delta 8, any of these cannabinoids as GRAS, generally regarded as safe. Okay. And in fact, they've dragged their feet in doing anything when it comes to CBD. And now they're holding seminars on marijuana and hemp and the emerging cannabinoid market. I don't know if this was like I don't even think this was something that was trying to make them look good in the eyes of the new administration. I mean, they know they're about to get schwacked with the FDA. I mean, they're going to there's going to be major changes in our food structure, what is generally regarded as safe, one way or another. And hopefully what that will mean is the new administration and the new heads of these departments do something about the legal cannabinoids that need to be what's up, yo? That need to be addressed one way or another. You know, we need to be able, I mean, we know that CBD is safe. And the FDA needs to figure out whatever it needs to do so that it can tell people it's safe. So we can put on labels, you know, nutritional values or you know, it's important. You know, at the very least, I don't understand, and I can't believe it hasn't been done yet, how someone hasn't done the studies to prove that hemp is safe as a supplement. Okay. I think part of it is they don't want to, and although there's many studies, there aren't the right studies yet, I suppose, for the FDA to prove what CBD can do and why it should be approved as a supplement. I think the fact that they're ignoring these issues is terrible. At the very least, I can understand how they can come out and they can say, "Hey, look, you bring us a 5-year study." You know, and but that 5-year study is only going to prove, say, maybe that CBD is good for anti-inflammation in a study. Okay, now another study is probably going to have to do the fact that it's safe to use as a supplement for anxiety. And here's part of the conspiracy aspect of me saying the FDA is only protecting its own interests because it oversights all these pharmaceuticals, and these pharmaceutical companies do not want the average person that uses their pharmaceuticals to know there's a natural alternative. It's the last thing they want you to know. And this has been the fight for cannabis medically for a long time. I think the fact that medical marijuana is legal in, I don't know, 3/4 of our country, I think, at this point, if I was to guess, shows the legitimacy of that. And it also shows the legitimacy of us always saying for years and years and years that one of the largest anti-marijuana movements came from the pharmaceutical companies protecting their own interest. Which once again, I always thought was ironic, because if you don't know, I'll be generously by saying that probably half of the pharmaceuticals out there are based on natural plants, come from plants. And so it's, but they can't synthesize cannabis. It's too intricate. It has too many compounds, 500 plus 550 plus different compounds come together to give you what's in the flower. And they can't synthesize that. And they've tried to synthesize parts of it. But why would you do that when you can just get all of it naturally? And that's where all the, not only do we need in-depth medical studies of cannabis on every level, but we need in-depth cannabis studies on every cannabinoid.
Yeah.
And obviously we start with THC and CBD and CBN and CBG because these are largely natural. They come in the flower in large percentages, THCA, those type of things. But all the terpenes, all that, there's alcohol, there's sugars, there's all these things that come together to make cannabis what it is, and how we can change it so much because of the terpenes and the all these other, raise the CBD, take down the CBN, bring up the THC, all these things. They all have different therapeutic value. And as hard as it is to legitimize that in the cannabis industry right now, it would be nearly impossible for the pharmaceutical companies to even try to keep up with any of that. And so, it needs to be. We're in, I feel like the rescheduling they're talking may come before Biden leaves office. I don't know if they'll get that done. That obviously helps the industry because it opens it up, but it also hurts the industry because rescheduling puts it more in the hands of having to be sold at Walgreens and having to have an actual prescription, which is different than a recommendation. And it really would, we'll see what happens, but it does open up the legitimacy for true medical studies, because right now the federal government says marijuana has no medical benefit, even though 3/4 of the country seems to disagree. But that's why they keep talking about the rescheduling. That's what that's all about. All right. Well, I'm glad I took a picture of my script because my computer just died. So Google is changing how third-party advertising will work, and this is kind of weird. And they're specifically doing this because they said sites like Forbes Marketplace have dominated the best CBD gummies. So if you go search for best CBD gummies, it sends you to, like, 99% of the time, I guess, or whatever, 5% of the time, it sends you to Forbes Marketplace website. And so you're kind of sucked into having to choose from whatever it is they may or may not sell. I don't even know how that works. But they get a cut. And so Google's saying, well, this is, I guess they're saying, honestly, this is just kind of shady. Their Forbes Marketplace is spending a huge amount of money to send everyone to their website, which is supposed to be, I guess, isn't supposed to pick sides, but yet they get money if you do, and they almost force everyone to do that. So it's kind of interesting. I don't really know how. I mean, hopefully that will obviously make it easier for the average person to find more general CBD products, as opposed to, once again, I mean, if you're anywhere in the country and you sit down and best CBD gummies in your Google search, and all of a sudden, once again, 95% of the people are sent to this Forbes Marketplace to buy. I don't know how I feel about all that, but I mean, that's what I tell everybody now when they ask me, I'm like, are you online? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm literally lost amongst all the people that can afford to do any type of advertising. And so, that just proves there that I've been right the whole time, because most of my advertising probably would have been wasted, because these guys would have gotten the business 99 out of 100 times, most more than likely, because that's how it works. Now, obviously, with these changes, maybe it will make it easier for the little guys to get in the game or be in the game. I don't know. We'll see. I've talked about this, but this study pretty much was showing that CBD does, in fact, have promise as scalp aid. So, CBD shampoo. They say the anti-inflammation parts of it help with hair growth, and the nutrients and the moisturizing properties help with the dryness. And again, just like I've said, you take your CBD and a CBD and hemp seed based or hemp seed shampoo would probably be the healthiest thing that you could do. I think that if you really had issues with scalp issues or hair issues, I think just even our CBD, which is in hemp oil, just a little bit on your fingers, massage it in, would also help with and aid in all these ways. So it's I haven't talked to. I've had a couple close people to me that actually we're going to try to use CBD for hair growth. Because the one study showed that whether it was a tiny amount or a huge amount, everyone that used CBD on their scalps had some percentage of higher hair growth. So, if you're looking for that, and I think that because of how our CBD and hemp oil is perfect for it. You could even add our CBD and hemp oil to your shampoo. So if you wanted to use that shampoo, I think just rubbing it directly into the scalp, maybe before you shower. I don't know. After you shower, I don't know. We have to see which might work better. If you use hot water, it might be better to actually do it after, because that opens up the pores, and then makes that hemp oil or that CBD hemp oil absorb into the scalp even more. So, well, I talked last week how NASCAR denied Kyle Busch his 3Chi sponsorship, and at the time we didn't know, and I vaguely mentioned, I said, well, because they had described that like his helmet would have a hemp leaf and his uniform would have a hemp leaf. Well, it's a little bigger than that. This is what 3G was proposing to do to Kyle Busch's car. Now, again, there's already a driver that was sponsored by 3G, but nothing like this. I don't even think there was. I think that that maybe the 3G leaf that's above the door there, maybe. I don't even think that was on the other NASCAR's guy. I think it just was a black car that said 3G as big as it could down the side. Now we can see, and I called it. I called it 100%. NASCAR has nothing against 3Chi, but they have everything against that leaf. And you know what? Thank you. I'm good for Kyle Busch and his team. I'm sure it was, obviously a large amount of money based on this to be willing to do this to begin with, to give this, to be able to hand this over, even thinking that NASCAR may approve it, but just to try to give it a try is great. And again, those are hemp leaves. As far as that's what 3G does, is it makes its product out of industrial hemp. So technically speaking, 3G says, well, these are hemp leaves. Driving around the track, that's not what everybody's going to see, because everybody is still, got that. that's a marijuana leaf. Whether you use marijuana or not, people always look at it like that. And apparently, NASCAR is not there yet. And they would have been the first, because I'm almost guessing that even with, baseball, and I think baseball and the NBA for sure. I don't know if the NFL, I don't know if they're accepting CBD sponsorships yet. But I don't know how much, the NBA or the MLB is allowing these companies to use hemp leaves in their sponsorships. And I doubt it's, again, if they allow it at all, I'm sure it's very limited. But this is straight up in your face cannabis. Straight up in your face hemp. And I love it. If the Kyle Busch team is smart enough, they'll make these jumpsuits and these helmets available to their fans.
Yeah.
If they are smart in any way, even if the NFL won't allow this as sponsorships, I'm sure that you can go on Kyle Busch's website and be like, "Hey, this is our team," or "This is a uniform you can buy, even though we can't use this." And I guarantee it'll probably be the if they do that, the hottest selling uniform they've ever had, and the helmets too. Or 3Chi. Sell them on their website for that matter. Even if the NASCAR says that he can't wear these, that doesn't mean they can't sell them to you for you to wear.
Yeah.
Which would be brilliant. Because once again, you're getting someone to buy a product with your company name on it and do free advertising for you. So they're buying the product and then you get free advertising. So that's the advice I can give the Kyle Busch team. If they want to get their money out of this sponsorship, just sell this stuff. Sell a little replica car, the car we couldn't make. Here's the car we couldn't make. I mean, the hottest seller that they can come up with. I would almost guarantee it. I know this. I'd sure like to know if they actually make these on any type of replica scale. I'd sure like to know what box that went in. Good stuff. Good stuff. Straight up in your face. Good for 3Chi to try. I'm sure whatever they come back with will be very boring compared to that. But I love it, honestly. The white, the green, all of it's brilliant. I think the funniest thing is you could really barely see. Of course, your focus is on all the leaves, but you can almost hardly see the number. Like his 8 kind of just gets lost in the whole thing. But brilliant. Good try, 3Chi. Good try, Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
I might have to say that I'll follow. I don't follow NASCAR, by the way, but I might have to say now if someone asks me who's my favorite driver, just because I'm going to say Kyle Busch. Just because he tried to put a hemp leaf on his car, even though he had nothing to do with it. Although I'm sure they had to ask him, like, "Hey, Kyle, you okay with driving around the track in this hemp leaf covered car?" I'm sure he has a say in that, right? This uniform.
Wow.
But you're going to be wearing hemp leaves, walking around everywhere. You okay with that? Oh, shoot. So New Balance. Last week, or the week before, I think it was iPath. New Balance is dropping a new skating shoe. They're collabing with Jaden Smith on this is called the New Balance 0.01. I don't know if they're trying to go back in time or what. This is a prequel to something. Um, I have they New Balance was using hemp in their running shoes for a while. I have a pair of those. Um, I have not checked into New Balance and hemp recently, but these are kind of the beginning of the hemp on the back. There's not a whole lot of hemp on it. I'm not positive. I can't tell, but I'm pretty sure this back piece that they're showing here is hemp material. And again, it is all part of a environmentally sustainable shoe ideology, which I think is neat. How most of the major sneakers, gym shoes, whatever you want to call them, companies are really trying to come out. Obviously Saucony's got their vegan line. Adidas uses a lot of hemp in their shoes either way. The new iPath shoes, these New Balance shoes are really kind of touting as a move to try to go environmentally friendly, sustainable with shoes. Shoes are one of those things where it's like they go to the landfill. The material, well, leather's going to last quite a while. It's probably a lot of breakdown either way, but like the soles, could take hundreds of years, I think, for some of these soles to break down. There's a lot of plastic in soles, more plastic in soles these days than rubber either way. But I think it's nice to see a lot of the shoe companies using hemp, but using hemp in a way by promoting it as sustainable and eco-friendly. So Tau Climate is a innovator in carbon removal measurements. So they basically their ideology, I think, is to study things and see what's best for carbon removal. Well, we know how great these guys are. They want to prove it. They're joining the European Space Agency. Yeah. And an incubation center Ireland program. And they will be studying the growth of hemp from space. Okay, and they're going to do this in a sense to see, what are the optimal growth conditions. I think they're going to try to do a capture, find out exactly how much capturing carbon hemp is. But basically, they want to verify its potential and then give incentives to, get farmers to grow more of it. It's going to start in Ireland, and again, they want this to be on a global scale. So this study is really going to solidify hemp once again, at the very least, as super eco-friendly. Not just eco-friendly. I'm going to have to put a super in front of it. There's a lot of eco-friendly stuff out there, but hemp is super eco-friendly. The carbon capturing. We know that hemp captures more carbon than trees in 6 months than a tree's lifetime. We know that hemp creep, not only because the hemp sequesters the carbon, but it continues to sequester and hold carbon. When we use it as an insulation or any type of wall or anything like that. And so we've been saying it for as long as we've been saying it, and the proof will now be in the hemp field as we get more and more proof that this is true. But that's a pretty interesting study, and again, this is all these people do. So we're going to have to take their word for it when they come back and tell us how great hemp is and what to do if we need to do things differently to get more greatness out of it, which is really everybody's goal right now. Hemp was decently status quo until 1937. And then, in the 90s, I really think that as an industrial agricultural industry, it came back. France starts building with hempcrete. Canada starts growing a huge amount of grain. China is growing as much fiber as we can buy from them when it comes to that. Now we're at the point where, and I don't know why we need to convince anyone else of why we need to just grow in the United States for all the products that are going to make, just all those things right there. But just more proof of how environmentally friendly it is. Even though half the time I hate to say that, because you say environmentally friendly, and I swear some people cringe like it's a bad thing. It's not, no matter what you're doing. I don't care what your political affiliation is or whatever. We all live on this planet, and we all need to help it recover from the damage that we have done. And I'm taking full responsibility for that, as well as all humans should, because it's all of us and everything that we do. So Michigan has disbanded its hemp farming program. And although that sounds bad, really, it just means that hemp farming will be regulated by the USDA, or if you're a farmer in Michigan, you just have to go by the USDA or the federal regulations for growing hemp. And which I think, once again, is great, which means I don't think you don't have to have a license. I think the only thing that you would then have as a cost would be you'd still have to have that tested at the end of the year. And that would be the only thing. But if you don't have to get a license from Michigan and all that, there's no federal license to grow industrial hemp because it's all state regulated, which I think will actually make it better. And so I think that really actually opens up the movement for everyday farmers to say, okay, I don't have to fill out any special paperwork to grow it. No, at least I have to have a flower tested at the end of the year. Still an inconvenience, in my opinion, to the average farmer, but if we're starting to minimalize it to that, that's a step in the right move. I think that should be every state. Honestly, there should be no licensing fee, and if there is a licensing fee, $35. It should be not $1,000, not $500, not even $100. $35, $50 maybe. Okay, and then I get the testing, which is still mandatory federally to have that flower tested. And that's where they get the dry weight. So you cut the flower, and that's where you get your 0.3% is from that flower, the dry weight of the flower. So, which again is still federally mandated, even though it says that they have to be tested at a federal facility. The federal government still has not been able to keep up with that, so they put that off again for the 6th year. Because if they want people to get tested, they can't. You cannot rely on the federal testing facilities. There's not enough. Bast Fiber Technologies in NC State and a company called IND Hemp are going to partner with a $750,000 study in fiber growing. And what they're going to look at there is to try to get the results of best fiber growing, no matter where you're growing it. I don't know how they're going to figure all that out. But this is all part of the fact that North Carolina is the largest employer of apparel people. So there's a lot of clothing being made in North Carolina, and so I think they were really trying to figure out, hey, what's the best fiber we can grow in North Carolina hemp wise what cultivar is going to work best for us. But I think they're also going to generally look at, no matter where you're growing, where we can get the best fiber for the industry grown. And so, this is a big boom to the fiber industry. I think the material industry, the fiber industry knows, it's pretty well recognized that they have to get involved with adding hemp to their materials, no matter what it is. And I think the legalization of being able to grow in the United States is really helping with fiber companies in the United States say, yes, okay, finally, the restrictions are lifted. We don't have to worry about this either way. So let's look at how our products can really benefit by us adding hemp to them or making products out of hemp. And so, it's these studies will help with that. But also, the studies just show the direction that we're going, which is the right direction, because they want to know not if we should grow industrial hemp for fiber, but the best ways to get the best fiber out of the hemp that we grow. Okay, we're beyond proving that we need to grow this for all these things. Now we're just going to try to make it better and better as an agricultural crop. We don't need genetically modified hemp. Okay, it's great at everything that it does on its own. But there are specifics to that. There are some cultivars that are grown here that will give you better fiber. There are cultivars that are grown here that will give you better seed. That's where all these studies will help, because we know we can get the benefits out of the farming no matter how we do it. Now it's going to be boosting those benefits and offering something to the farmers to get them to make some more money. And that's the direction we need to go, so that the supply goes up. Demand is there. We have demand. But we need supply to go up so that the price comes down. Because right now demand is high, supply is low. That drives prices up. And we can't have that. And it's slowly going the other way. Demand has been up, but supply is going up. So I think prices are down, but it's still very mismatched. We need supply to meet demand. And we're years and years and years away from that, but we need supply to meet demand so that the prices balance out and we have more fair competition. Okay. Let's put a tariff on imported cotton to increase the growing of domestic industrial hemp. Well, let's talk about tariffs. And again, here's an interesting thing, and I don't know if this is food product, but this Canadian tariff may affect the food industry, the hemp food industry in the United States. I don't know that tariffs, I don't think we put tariffs on food. Is it a blanket tariff? Because all they say on the news is 25% tariff on all products coming from Canada. If that's the case, we still get a huge amount of our hemp grain, which, once again, hopefully this will boost the want to grow industrial hemp for food in the United States. That's how tariffs are actually supposed to work. Put a tariff on something coming across the border so that we can compete price-wise or whatever and doing it here in the United States. It is what it is. All right. Well, that's all the news that oh no, I'm sorry. I think I do have a picture for there's
There you go.
Mary's hemp hummus recipe. Maybe you want to take some hummus to your Hempsgiving celebration here. It's pretty simple and tastes great. I love hummus in all its forms, and it doesn't taste any different because of the hemp hearts. Again, you're just getting that nutritional benefit, kind of a consistency benefit. You probably have to use less garbanzo beans, and you can probably balance that out even more. You can work out your own recipe where you may use even less beans if you're kind of against that, or your body doesn't like that too much. I don't know, and maybe a little bit more hemp hearts. Either way, but pretty simple. Hummus is, as you can see, pretty simple. You just take, and then again, you just take all this stuff, basically throw it in your little food processor, grind it up, boom, bim, bam, boom. There's your hemp hummus.
There you go.
All right. So, again, I hope everybody has a good Hempsgiving tomorrow. Hopefully, you get to enjoy at least one day off that you don't normally during the week. That's why I always tell everybody, just enjoy your day off. And if you're lucky, honestly, because the biggest part of Thanksgiving to me was just going home to have my mom cook, because she, of course, cooked a fucking unbelievable Thanksgiving spread. And so it was always about the food for me, anyway. And luckily, I'm going to get to go tomorrow and celebrate with Mary's family, and they put out a big spread. And so, that part of it to me is, family and food, man. Even if you don't get along, I know those are like, that's the biggest thing about the holidays right now, is the biggest talk about how we just all need to get along. Make some rules, man. No politics, no religion. And of course, no religion's always kind of been a general rule with these things anyway. But no politics, no religion. Everybody can get along just fine. Happy Hempsgiving, everyone. We do have one event next Tuesday, medical marijuana meetup. And this is at Karrakin Spirits now, Karrakin Spirits.
Oh.
It's over in the Fairfax, Marymount kind of area. Great place. It's a private event. You don't have to be invited. It's a public private event. We will be the only ones there. It goes from 8 to 10. Again, this is next Tuesday. Medical marijuana meetup. I go as the hemp person, as one of the hemp people, and that's why I go there. It's a great event. I really love. I'm looking kind of even more forward to it being a private event, because even though they were nice when they were at Mad Tree, it was still everybody was still there. They weren't just there for the medical marijuana meetup. And now that I think that we have the entire place to ourselves, I think it's really going to be just as nice. And again, it's just great conversation. People are super knowledgeable, all things cannabis. It's just a good thing to do. So that's next Tuesday, December 3rd, from 8 to 11 at Karrakin, Karrakin Spirits Company, over in the Fairfax area. So I will be there. We hope to see you there. Thank you for being here today. If you were watching live, and if you're watching later, thank you for doing that as well. We hope you learned something about hemp, as we do every high noon on every Wednesday of every week. Thanks, everybody. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.
I
I don't know what that is. Bye, everybody.